Hello everybody, this is Siddharth Narspur. Today I'm going to be explaining the Dark Season 3 trailer which just debuted today, and there are so many talking points, so many new ideas which we had thought about but haven't come to fruition yet. So let's stop talking and get straight into the video and into the first second of this amazing trailer.
Aus welcher Zeit bist du?
Die Frage ist nicht aus welcher Zeit, sondern aus welcher Welt.
Okay, so the first few seconds are pretty simple. They are just repeating clips from the previous season. We first see the dark matter exploding from the nuclear energy power plant. Then our next shot is the alternate Martha coming from the alternate world, who tells Jonas to come with him to another world. And then we see the Conwald house being destroyed. And some important things to note here is the color of the glow of Alt Martha's device, a golden glow which we saw in the teaser trailer and which we're going to see in an upcoming clip in this video.
Ich bin hier, dir zu helfen, den Ursprung zu finden.
We then see a shot of Jonas waking up and then Jonas looking into the caves. Now I think these caves are the alternate caves based on some behind the scenes photos we've seen in this area with Alt Martha. So this could be the alternate version of the Winden caves, or this could be the original world as well.
Die eine Sache, die der Anfang für alles ist. In deiner Welt.
Okay, quite a number of important clips here. The first clip is Stranger Jonas in 1921 with what looks to be the founding of Sigmundis based on some footage later in the trailer. Then we have alternate Martha continuing on with the voiceover promising Jonas that they can find the origin of this, I would say, loop and these struggle with the cycles and all of that. And then we have Jonas looking at Martha while she's delivering the voiceover, but in the middle of all of that we have what looks to be a family tree engraved, and they're connected in the middle with that loop symbol which we will see later in the trailer as well. And what this is going to be is the family trees of both the universes or dimensions, which will probably be compiled by Adam or Eve, or perhaps even the White Witch Claudia. We don't know that yet. So I don't think what they're showing us is the differences. So there are probably going to be a few differences in the family trees because of the gender swap between Jonas and Martha. It's not really a gender swap really, because Alt Martha is playing out the story of our Jonas, and in her universe Jonas has probably died like Martha died in the original universe as well.
Heute ist der Tag, an dem alles angefangen hat. Deine und meine Welt. So in diesem Knoten.
We see a couple of important shots with Martha's voiceover continuing. We see alternate Martha in a room of some kind, perhaps the Sigmundus headquarters of the alternate world, and she's again using the dimensional travel machine, which is the gold machine, and she might be traveling to where we saw her at the end of season 2, or she might be traveling to some other place. We really don't know, but I think this is where she travels to at the end of season 2. Then we see a shot of a village with the voiceover. This is where everything began. And then we see a shot of the forest with a few dead bodies hanging on the trees. This could be the alternate world as well, and I think this is the perhaps the death of Mads Nielsen, depending on the timeline basically, because if we think about it, Mad Nielsen's death is where things sort of began unfolding and unraveling in Winden. And then we see a shot of Jonas from our world waking up, and then Alt Martha waking up in the same way. If you don't know where the shot is from, it's from the season 1 first few episodes when Jonas is having nightmares about his father's death. So that is probably what's going to be happening to Martha as well. And this is sort of a comparison, and this comparison is similar to the comparison we saw between them in the few episodes in season 1 where we were introduced to characters from season 1 the 1980 self and then the 2019 self. So a similar comparison being used here, and we're going to see more of that comparison later in the video as well. And then finally we see a shot of the loop symbol again being drawn in ink. Perhaps the arm looks like it might be Adam, but I can't say from that distance. So that loop symbol is going to be very important, probably related to the trichiatra symbol and also related to the book perhaps, because I think we have a shot later in the trailer where the book is very important.
Trennbar miteinander verbunden. Alles wiederholt sich. Keiner von uns bereit ist, loszulassen.
We first see a shot of young Elizabeth holding the stopwatch which belonged to her mother, which we saw a lot of in season 2. We then see the Trichiatra book, Adam's book, and the same stopwatch again being arranged by a person that could be Noah due to the black clothing. And then we have the comparison shots of Elizabeth, Katharina Nielsen, and Ulrich Nielsen with what looks to be like the alternate version and the original version side by side. And then we have a voiceover saying the knot is intertwined, and this basically continues what we have been hearing so far. Everything is connected, and so probably we can see the parallels of Ulrich looking for his son Mikkel, and one thing different is obviously Katharina's glasses, and we could be seeing these small differences because remember we saw a shot of Bartos, I think with black hair, and so there are going to be some differences between characters in the alternate world and the original world, but for mostly they will be played by the same actors and they look pretty similar. We then see a clip from the season 2 finale, which is Jonas looking and crying over our Martha's dead body, and then we see the rest of the teenagers, which is Bartos, Magnus, and Franziska, with the stranger in 1921, where I think Sigmundus is going to be formed, and they are creating what looks to be like the Trichiatra wormhole, which we will see later in the episode. My guess is that the Trichiatra wormhole is probably a dimensional portal to the alternate world, but it could also be a more advanced time portal, so it's probably going to be one of those two. We then see a shot of older Elizabeth and another older woman in what looks to be like the post-apocalyptic world of 2053, and I think they're greeting Elizabeth's mother, who has gone through the portal as we saw at the end of season 2. And then the next few shots are the trio, who I am suspecting is the same character, and all of them are the same person at different stages in their life, and they're opening up another wormhole. This could be another Trichiatra wormhole, which is the parallel to the one the stranger is making in 1921. My guess is that the trio are not in our world, they are in the alternate world, and they are working for Eve, who I will talk about in a bit.
Warum bin ich hier?
Die Apokalypse in deiner Welt, sie geschieht auch in unserer.
We then see Martha from the alternate world and Jonas from our world going through what looks to be like the Winden caves of the alternate world. And then we see Martha telling probably Jonas that the apocalypse has happened in her world as well. And then we also see a stranger, not the stranger, but a man moving around in the army camps with what looks to be like the post-apocalyptic alternate world. This could be the alternate world version of the stranger, perhaps.
Glaubst du alles? Bis wir alle sterben werden.
Wir müssen verhindern, dass es jemals passiert.
We then see what looks like Adam traveling to the alternate world, and then we get a few shots of Peter Doppler probably in the bunker of the alternate world looking through some photos of the dead people, with a voiceover of what looks like to be Eve, who I'm going to talk about later. And then we see Jonas probably going through the caves of the alternate world, trying to figure out a way to get back home or travel to a different time within the alternate world.
Wir müssen verhindern, dass es jemals passiert.
Wenn es nur eine Welt geben kann.
Eine Welt ohne dich. Ist das nicht das, was du wolltest?
We then see alternate Martha and Jonas talking about if there can only be one world. I think this is the young alternate Martha. I think the Martha we saw with the short black hair is the stranger version of Martha who has grown up a bit. And then we see them talking about if there can only be one world. This might either lead to two things. This might either be we have to combine both of the worlds, or only one world can survive. And it could actually be Jonas versus Alt Martha. And or this could also be a plot by a third party who was trying to make Jonas and Alt Martha fight by saying there can only be one world. So each of them tries to save their own world, while the third party does something for their own good. And that's probably my best guess. And then we see another wormhole of sorts being either used or created. At this point, with so many wormholes, it's getting a little hard to keep track of it.
Du hast mir versprochen, dass es einen Weg gibt, das alles zu ändern.
We then see the trio in the burning library, which we already saw in the first trailer, probably burning the Sigmundus headquarters of the alternate world. But the most important part of this is the voiceover from Martha, who's screaming and telling someone there would be. I thought we could change this. It might be a Claudia of the alternate world who guided alternate Martha into doing many things, and then alternate Martha realized things couldn't be changed, and this could be alternate Martha's path towards becoming Eve. And we can see and hear the anger in her voice. And so, yeah, the big thing is Eve, and we see the shot of her at the end. So we'll just wait until then to talk more about her. We then see some rock smashing going on there, which is a dark trademark. The first one is probably going to be Elizabeth, either killing a time traveler or Peter Doppler. I think it's one of those two. And the third killing is, I think, the Ulrich Nelson beating of Helge Doppler, which we saw in the original world happening in the alternate world. For the second one, I am thinking it may be Hannah because of the dress and what looks to be the timeline. But other than that, I'm pretty sure that the first and third killings are Elizabeth in our world and Ulrich in the alternate world. And then finally, we come to the end of the trailer where we see many 1 second shots which are very important. First of all, we see Adam and Jonas from the season 2 finale, and then we later see Jonas screaming, "What do you want from me?" This could be an alternate world, or this could be in the original world as well. And then we see a desert traveler moving through the alternate world. Then we see a shot of Noah, alternate Noah. Then we see a book, might be the Triquetra book, saying 27 June 2020 is important, I think in German. Then we see two shots of wormholes again. We have Adam turning on the wormhole, which we saw in the teaser trailer. And then we see two people in red suits turning on another wormhole in the alternate world, it looks like. And then we see the joining of the two dimensions is what I guess, because this is similar to the joining of time which we saw in season 2 by our Jonas and the White Witch Claudia. Then we see two women hugging in what looks like the Kahnwald house. I couldn't really make out their faces even if I zoomed in. Then we see the Triquetra wormhole striking somebody in a suit. I saw a theory that this is the making of Adam, that that person is Stranger Jonas. I think that may be true, how he gets disfigured or perhaps something similar. And then we see Jonas chasing Alt Martha from a bunker in the alternate world. And we see perhaps the same storm again in the alternate world with Jonas pulling away what looks like Stranger Martha. And we also see, if you notice, Bartos, the alternate Bartos, in the background, who is looking quite a bit different. And then obviously the final shot, we see the three
walking up to Eve, and what Eve, I think, is the Adam and Eve biblical comparison. We see a lot of comparisons, and Eve is going to be the Adam of the alternate world. Eve is going to be Martha when she grows up and becomes disfigured and illusioned like Adam does in the original world.